guys, welcome to Girls Frontline 2. We do have Makiatto here, and she is a single target, first strike, operative, or doll. Again guys, we're going to be starting off with her skills. So we do have here Lone Wolf Territory. This is her basic attack. This is targeted with a stability damage of 2. Selects one enemy target within 9 tiles and deals 9 tiles. That is a very long range. And deals physical damage equal to 80% to attack them. Next up is going to be her A1, which is going to be Cold Precision Shot level 1. Stability damage for the shot is at 1. Selects one enemy target within 9 tiles and deals freeze damage equal to 160 of attack, roughly double of her standard attack. Increases the critical damage of this attack by 30. Gains 1 stack of Cold Conviction for each instance of damage dealt. If a kill is made, gains 1 point of Confectance Index. Okay, let's proceed to her A2, which is going to be Professional Tactics level 1. This is an active targeted buff. Stability damage is going to be 2. Select one enemy target within 9 tiles of self. Deal physical damage equal to 130% of attack. Gain 4 points of Confectance Index and gain 2 stacks of Standard Approach. Standard Approach is reduce AoE damage taken by 25%. Each instance of AoE damage taken consumes 1 stack. A maximum of 3 stacks. This is considered a buff. Next is going to be her ultimate, which is Absolute Mental Defense. Gain a Frost Barrier and Alert for 2 turns. The absorption amount of Frost Barrier is equal to 65% of the initial attack but cannot exceed 60% of max HP. Just want to give you guys an extra note here. If you are in a team with Sumi and Sumi gives you a Frost Barrier, that doesn't trigger Alert. Alert is when an enemy within 9 tiles attempts to attack with Frost Barrier. Interception, meaning she intercepts that enemy, dealing freeze damage equal to 90% of the attack, 2 stability damage, and applies Frozen for 1 turn. Activates 2 times per turn. This effect cannot be cleansed. So this is the one. Alert is basically the skill that makes her shoot first instead of being shot at first. So make sure that if you have Sumi and if you only use Sumi's Frost Barrier, that you know that Alert is not triggered. You have to use the ultimate skill for Alert to be triggered together with her Frost Barrier. Next is going to be the passive, which is Battlefield Insight level 1. This one increases critical rate by 40%. So again, just another note, this 40% is above the critical rate that she has. This is on top, okay? This is not together. So I'm gonna be explaining this after we talk about the passive. And reduces critical damage by 10% at the start of the turn. If the unit HP exceeds 80%, gains insight and steady progress until next turn. When attacking a target with Frozen, ignores 4 points of stability index and increases damage dealt to them by 20%. When attacking a target with Frigid, ignores 6 points of stability index and increases damage dealt to them by 30%. The effect does not stack. So this passive is actually insane. Aside from the 40% crit rate that is added to your natural stats, there are a lot of stability point ignores here. Insight, Frozen, and Frigid. Triggers with Insight with Frozen and Frigid. So going back to the crit rate, which we have here at 40%. So let's look at my Makiatto and see how much crit rate we have. We have 60% crit rate. This is actually the 40% you saw for the passive is on top of that. So because when you click on the crit rate, this is the composition. So basic doll is going to be 20. Weapon attachment is going to be 30, and universal key is going to be 30. So if you want to make sure that you always crit, make sure that at least your crit rate is going to be at 60. Okay, you have a lot of means to increase that because you do have universal keys, especially for the weapon attachments. That is the big jump in terms of crit rate. So right now, the 60 and the 40 is going to be equal 100%, which right now you're guaranteed to crit with Makiatto with this build. Okay, so as for her weapon options, we do have our SR option, which is a W2000. This gun can be farmed in Makiatto's banner and Makiatto's gun banner. So this gun, you can get this anytime as you pull. Hopefully, you could at least get one copy of this if you don't plan to invest on any of the SSR weapons. So going over what this gun does, if HP is above 80%, out of turn damage is increased by 10%. That is the prime level 1. Then the trait for this gun is attacks ignores 10% of target's defense. If the target has freeze debuff, ignore an additional 10% of its defense, which is actually, this trait happens to be the same as Makiatto's signature weapon. So this gun is actually nice. You know, if you don't want to invest on any SSR weapon, definitely this gun will serve its purpose. Our second option would be Arcana. So Arcana is roughly now I'm using it with Nemesis, but this gun can be used as well with Makiatto. So Soldier's Breakthrough level 1, when dealing damage if there are no other enemy units within 4 tiles of the target, so it's going to be a lone target. It increases damage dealt by 15%. And also for the trait, attacks ignore 1 point of stability index when possessing insight. Additionally, ignore another 1 point of stability index. Again, this is a very nice alternative. If you don't, if you don't want W2000, if you want an SSR weapon, definitely this gun is going to be a good alternative for Makiatto. Okay, so for our third option, we do have Samosek here. This is available in the shop. We can actually get this if you have currency for the shop. So this one is going to be has a weapon feature. So keep it up. Face damage is increased by 10%, and electric damage is increased by another 10%. Obviously, you won't benefit from the electric damage, but the face damage increase you can. So attacks ignore 1 point of stability index. This is going to be the same as Arcana. When possessing insight, additionally ignore 1 point of stability index. So this one, the imprint skill, this is for Mohsin Nagant only. But this gun is actually a nice replacement or a nice alternative to Makiatto's signature weapon. Finally, we do have here Bittersweet Caramel. This is Makiatto's signature weapon. So the Art of Eradication, there's an art for it. Level 1, increase freeze damage by 10% for every 4 instances of damage dealt outside of own turn. Increase the damage dealt by the next active attack by 10%. So she usually has two out of turn shots per turn, provided that the conditions apply. So after the 4th, the next active attack, meaning on her turn, there's an increase by 10% on the damage. The trait of this gun, again, is similar to the SR weapon that we mentioned earlier, which is W2000. Ignores 10% with target's defense. If the target has freeze debuffs, ignore an addition of 10% of its defense. So, just to summarize, this is a nice add, Bittersweet Caramel, but the other 3 options are also very good alternatives. You don't really need to get this one unless you really want this gun. Now that you have chosen the gun that you want to bring with Makiatto, we are going to be talking about the attachments and stat priorities. Okay, for the attachment set, preferably you go with Face Track. This is your general, set for any of or most of the guns, and this is a very good starter set for Makiatto's gun as well. Okay, if you want to go to a different direction because she is of freeze element, you could go with freeze boost as well. Really depends, but right now, if you want just an overall flexibility in terms of attachments, I would suggest you go with Face Strike. Second option would be your freeze boost. And for the stat priorities for this gun, I would encourage you go with attack boost, and with crit rate. Those are the things that would increase the damage of Makiatto significantly, especially for your crit rate. Okay, so moving on to her fortification, starting off with segment 1. This is going to be added to Cold Precision Shot. So this is going to be at level 2. Performs 2 attacks. Critical damage will no longer increase. And the damage dealt is decreased to 100% of the attack. If the first attack crits, the critical rate of the second attack is increased by 100%. And the critical damage is increased by 80%. This one is going to make her a monster at V1. If you do have something extra, again guys, I highly suggest you get at least V1 because this skill is going to double the add-on is going to double the damage of your Cold Precision Shot. Next is going to be her segment 2. The absorption amount of Frost Barrier is increased to 80%, which is more resilient. 80% of the initial unit's initial attack, and the cap is increased to 80% of max HP. The number of interceptions it triggered is increased by 1 per turn. Right now, you only have 2 interceptions. This one takes you to a +1, which is around 3. Again, one of the musts in her vertebrae or her segments is also S2 or segment 2. Next is going to be segment 3. So when dealing freeze damage, this is tied to her battlefield insight. When dealing freeze damage to an enemy target with frozen, increase the stability index ignored to 6 points. And when dealing freeze damage to an enemy target with frigid, increase the stability index ignored by 10 points. She actually can do or trigger frozen and frigid. And this skill further increases her damage by ignoring stability points. So take note that, again, S1, 2, and 3, if you really have the means to get all 3, then get all 3. But my recommendation would be, up to S1 because, again, S3 would be a lot of investment. But 1, 2, and 3 are going to be ridiculously good. Okay, and moving on to segment 4. This is Professional Tactics, going to be at level 2. Change the standard approach to Emergency Plan. So standard approach is going to be reduce AoE damage. This one, AoE damage taken is reduced again, but it's more of each instance of AoE damage consumes 1 stack with a stacking maximum 3 stacks. This is considered a buff. So segment 4 is more on AoE damage reduction, which it's not, at this point crucial to hit, but definitely you're going to be passing by segment 4. When you reach segment 5, when dealing freeze damage to an enemy target with frozen or frigid, increase the stability index ignored to 10 points. And the damage dealt by 30%. So segment 5 further enhances your segment 3. So again, as I repeat myself, 1, 2, and 3 are, probably the best that you want to invest in her unless you really want to go all the way. So speaking of all the way, moving on to segment 6, after using absolute mental defense, gains 2 points of confected index at the end of the action. This effect can be triggered 2 times. Inception can be triggered once more each turn. So another trigger for Inception. We did have that before. And this one is an additional. If Inception deals critical hit, gains Rapture for 1 turn, deals damage equal. Damage dealt is increased by 7.5%. Stacking up to 4 times cannot be cleansed. Again, 5 and 4 are 5 and 6. Are going to be luxuries. 4. Not so much, but 1, 2, and 3, a really must have if you have the means. But again, if you're on a budget build, definitely try to get her up to segment 1 or S1 or V1. So with that said, let us take her to Fortify segment 1. There you go, Fortification successful. And we are at level 2 for segment 1. Okay, so next up is going to be for her Neural Helix and her Key regulation. Keys that I think you should prioritize, and there are only three you need to focus on, and these are it. Okay, first one is going to be additional intelligence. So when the active skill cold precision shot results in a kill, gain 1 point of confectance index. This one is iced with milk foam. So this is a 3 points of confectance index at the start of the battle. And the last one, you do have to activate this and this. And you have to add absolute concentration, so increase attack by 10%. At the start of the battle, this effect lasts until HP drops below 100% for the first time. So those are the three keys or fixed keys that you need to equip with her. The last one, once you open this is a common key survival instinct. Attack boost, it provides 5%. At the start of the action, if your own HP is greater than 80%, reduces stability damage taken from attacks by 2 points. So this is more of a survivability key. Once you go to your key regulation, obviously you're going to be equipping all three here, and this one is going to be your common key survival instinct. I would suggest you play with either attack boost or attack boost and crit rate for the other two. Okay, so for team options for Makiatto, first up is going to be Sumi. So where is she? Sumi is going to be, bringing a lot of things for Makiatto, especially for that freeze barrier and for the debuffs that she has. It's going to be helping trigger some of the effects that Makiatto is going to be dealing with or going to be triggering. Next up is going to be QJ. QJ is going to trigger her action support as soon as as soon as Makiatto also triggers her interception. Next is going to be Lota. Lota, again, if you want to bring a freeze team, she would be a nice addition to to complement Makiatto. And the last one, if you're also into a 2 sniper team and probably, consider the support that Nemesis can bring, Nemesis is going to trigger as well once action support for, action support, not action support, but interception for Makiatto triggers as well. So, just an overall thought for Makiatto. Makiatto doesn't really need a specific team around her. She can be slotted in with any team. She works off independently. She has her own barrier. She can carry herself literally with any team. So no need to create really a team around her. You can slot her in any team as you wish. And those are my, my build tips for you guys. Again, comment down in the comment section what do you think of Makiatto, and are you getting her? Are you building her? How are you building her? And has this guide helped you in a way? So thank you guys for staying this far. Take care, stay safe. This is the Warden, and I'm out of here.